We have a very interesting situation here. There's a lady that's talking about some stuff that are very scary. I'm going to let her talk and make a comment. I mean, you've all heard about kids disappearing. I don't know if you've lived that firsthand. I've lived that many times, a few times actually, when a child from a neighbor's house or something just vanishes, disappears. You don't know where he is. They look for the kid for a long, long time. They call the police. The people try whatever they can. They do research and search. The family cries and forever the kid just disappears. It's usually due to many things. But we're going to listen to this lady first, and after she's spoken, I'm going to make a comment. This is a lady, a whistleblower, that spoke out against her government. She says her government is a middleman in very negative things toward children. Let's listen to her.
Good afternoon, Chairman McClintock, Ranking Member Japal, and distinguished members of the committee. It is an honor to be here. I thank you for the invitation to share my testimony. My goal is to inspire action to safeguard the lives of migrant children, including the staggering 85,000 that are missing.
85,000 children missing?
Today, children will work overnight shifts at slaughterhouses, factories, restaurants to pay their debts to smugglers and traffickers. Today, children will be sold for sex. Today, children will call a hotline to report they are being abused, neglected, and trafficked, and we don't know if they're going to get the help they need. For nearly a decade, unaccompanied children have been suffering in the shadows, and I have to confess I knew nothing about their suffering until 2021 when I volunteered to help the Biden administration with the crisis at the southern border. As part of Operation Artemis, I was deployed to the Pomona Fairplex Emergency Intake Site in California to help HHS, Office of Refugee Resettlement, reunite children with sponsors in the United States. I thought I was going to help place children in loving homes. Instead, I discovered that children are being trafficked through a sophisticated network that begins with recruiting in home country, smuggling to the US border, and ends when ORR delivers a child to a sponsor. Some sponsors are criminals and traffickers and members of transnational criminal organizations. Some sponsors view children as commodities and assets to be used for earning income. This is why we are witnessing an explosion of labor trafficking. Now, whether it's intentional or not, it could be argued that the United States government has become the middleman in a large scale.
This is unbelievable. I mean, this lady needs to be protected at all price. Coming forward and speaking against the government, saying the government is a middleman in child trafficking operation. This is very heavy. I mean, this is absolutely heavy because when you look at this, we have about 1,200,000 kids that disappear every year, okay? Let's just think about this. So 1,200,000 kids can disappear every year. Let's look at this. So 1,200,000 kids can disappear every year. You don't know where they are, but you can find me in whichever country I'm in via my IP address and geolocalization. So you don't know where 1,200,000 kids are, where they vanish in thin air, but you can find some dude somewhere in a forest in Africa or in a jungle in Afghanistan or something. You don't think something is really worrisome here. So we know human trafficking is a real thing. And many of these people usually come to Africa looking for kids for adoption. And many African family, obviously, because they see that, they feel like, okay, this is a great opportunity for our child to go get a good education, to get a good life, and maybe come back to us and help the family. So people are happy most of the time. And unfortunately, in most of these instances, these kids go and disappear. They never come back. Adopting a kid most of the time is because the parents choose to put him up for adoption because they don't have the means to take care of him. Or a kid is basically an orphan, has no parents, therefore is eligible for adoption. Now, a while back, for some of you who know, in West Africa, there was an airplane that was stopped, filled with children who were taken for adoption. A lot of those kids had their parents in the country. The parents were there. They were not orphans. So the parents were not even aware that the kids were already loaded in the airplane, ready to fly within the next 10 minutes. And very carefully, luckily, the airplane was stopped. They stopped it. They arrested the lady that was in charge of that load. And guess what happened later? A special commission came and, had the discussion, a secret discussion. They liberated her, they freed her, and she left. So human trafficking is a real thing. And people that are benefiting from human trafficking are not just random people. Some of them are very big people, respectable people, like powerful people. And some people say they need this for power. They need this to be who they are. They need this to function. Some of you like going to the club, have a drink, have a champagne and feel great. They champagne and whatever, it's kids. That's when they feel motivated, they feel engaged. And like this lady says, these kids are imported, then trafficked into the US. So there is a network of people that are benefiting from this. Now my question is, why isn't this network being stopped? I mean, with all the capabilities that the country has, all the ability, all the surveillance they can do, they don't know where all these kids go. 85,000 kids missing, but you don't know what message, who sends to who on the cell phone. That is crazy.
It could be argued that the United States government has become the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation that is run by bad actors seeking to profit off of the lives of children.
It could be argued that the United States government has been the middleman in a large-scale trafficking. That's what she said, not me. She said it.
As for me, my interest is the safety of the children. I do not view this as a political issue. I view this as a humanitarian issue. I assure you, my motives are the highest and best. I want the children protected. So I want to tell you some of what I witnessed personally at the Pomona Fairplex. I saw vulnerable indigenous children from Guatemala who speak Mayan dialects and cannot speak Spanish. That means they cannot ask for help in English. They cannot ask for help in Spanish. They become captives of their sponsors. I have sat with case managers as they've cried to tell me the horror of what has happened to children as they make the journey to this country. I saw apartment buildings where 20, 30, and 40 unaccompanied minors have been released. I saw sponsors trying to simultaneously sponsor children from multiple ORR sites at one time. I saw sponsors using multiple addresses to obtain sponsorships of children. And I saw numerous cases of children in debt bondage, and the child knew they had to stay with the sponsor until the debt was paid. Realizing that we were not offering the children the American dream, but instead putting them in modern-day slavery with wicked overlords was a terrible revelation. A terrible revelation. These children are a captive victim population with no access to law enforcement or knowledge of their rights. They are extorted, abused, neglected, and that is why I blew the whistle in 2021. I witnessed firsthand the horrors of child trafficking and exploitation. My life will never be the same after what I saw, but I have hope because I'm counting on you. It's my hope that you'll take action to end this crisis, to safeguard the lives of these vulnerable children.
So these kids are literally sold. It makes money. And when it makes money, it makes sense to many people. As long as it makes money. You bring the kids, you sell them to people, you make money. Those people go, abuse the kids, use them, and sometimes finish them. Exactly, because you don't want them to go into the street and go narrate the story on how they were brought into the country, how they were abused. When you're done with them, what do? You terminate whatever, then you get a new load. That's the reality. I know it sounds insane. It sounds unreal, but I'm not talking. This is the lady speaking about people you respect, a whistleblower, telling the truth. Most of the time, they will try to suppress her, shut her down so she doesn't speak out. But this is a reality we see every single day. We have a couple here from the US that came to Uganda recently saying that they've come for adoption and helping and giving another life, a brand new life to some of the kids that were here. Then they started doing really bad things to those kids, abusing them. And the neighbor heard the noise and the sound and the cries, and they alerted the police. They robbed their house and they dropped them. They found footage of those kids being abused. Why would you have footage? I mean, if it was a mistake, why do you have video again? If you let us sleep on the ground by mistake, why do you have the footage of that? And we have this syndrome, this white savior syndrome that a lot of Africans still have today. Nothing against our fellow white fellas who have good intentions, but some of these who have very negative intentions. When they come to Africa, they think Africa is just a big village where you can come and help people. People don't necessarily need help in Africa. People are doing good. Africa is doing really good. Yes. And they come and they promise you all these beautiful things and we're going to do and that's and this and that for you. And all of a sudden it's a nightmare. These are realities we see. There's another lady that came to Uganda and she started treating kids with medication and tablets and syringe. She wasn't even a doctor. Guess what? She was not a doctor, but when somebody's got a headache, she will just press the syringe and pump whatever she pumped inside of her. Whatever she feels like, okay, this is probably going to work. She just pumps into you. She was arrested. This is the reality of the world, fellas. Like 1,200,000. How do they disappear? I mean, you can see people, you can see live people into Turkmenistan, in Afghanistan, in Congo, in Zimbabwe. You can see where people are, but you don't know where 1,200,000 people are. Kids, you don't know where they vanished to, just like that. No, guys.